What is going on, everybody? This is Audible Sportscast. How's it going, everybody? You know, we finally made it. It's week 18, first week 18 that the NFL has really ever seen.
And it's 2022.
And it's 2022. Happy New Year, everybody. It's been an exciting 2022 so far. A lot of fun sports. It was a crazy first year, 2022, or first week of 2022 when you consider kind of the NFL games, and not only the NFL games, but even different sports like the NBA and a certain player.
Don't talk about Antonio Brown like that.
I wasn't. Hey, there's a lot
I'm
of
joking.
There's a lot of exciting things that happened in the NFL games this week.
As much as I crapped on Big Ben, I could say this was a memorable week for him.
It got me a little teary-eyed there at the end of that game too.
It's because all these quarterbacks that even you grew up with, since you were like little, are gonna be gone soon. Oh,
not Tom Brady though.
He will be.
Tom Brady will be here. Tom Brady will be in the NFL for another 20 years.
With bionic arms, maybe.
Hey, maybe we'll see. Welcome. It's week 18. There's a lot of playoff implications in these next couple games. Couple do, some don't. You know, it's exciting. Week 18. I'm excited. There's a lot of records that could potentially be broken because this is an extra week. So it'll be fun to see what happens. Could be a lot of as we talked about Big Ben. Could be a lot of players last game.
I'd like to see them make the playoffs just for him.
Yeah, but as we'll talk about later, it's going to be a little bit hard.
I know.
But looking last time we talked, which was week 16, I went 9-7. Brett, you went 10-6, and even though you started doing these a little later, you're catching up to me. You're only four games behind me when it comes to the total wins for the regular season. So hopefully, you don't take take it over for me. Your win percentage definitely is a lot higher than mine. But I think we should just talk about these week 18 games. Let's do it. So first off, we have some Saturday games. We have the Kansas City Chiefs heading to Denver to play the Broncos. While there isn't a lot of playoff implications, well, there is one where if Kansas City does win and Tennessee loses, I do believe the Kansas City can get the first. Yes, they can get the first seed, which with the new NFL playoff format from last year, only the first seed gets a bye, so that's very good for resting, especially with they're adding another week and a lot of players needing just some rest time. So.
Well, sounds like a week to catch COVID.
I mean, it's never a good time to catch COVID, but
I'm worried about the playoffs in general. We're gonna.
We saw it in the NBA a little bit last year.
Yep.
And hopefully, I mean, I don't remember hearing anything about any players getting COVID last year in the NFL playoffs. But it definitely, with how bad it's getting with kind of different variants, it could be up there for something to happen.
Well, they say 20% of New York City has it.
Well, luckily the Giants and the Jets aren't,
that means Antonio Brown's got it now. He was loose in New York or New Jersey.
Well, according to Bruce Arians, he's not on the team anymore. But
yes, legally he is still.
Yeah, they have not cut him. But hey, we'll talk. We got time, but we'll talk about the Bucs later. But what do you think about this Chiefs Broncos game?
Oh, I think it's an easy one. Chiefs all day.
I mean,
the Broncos are done for this year. They've given up on their quarterbacks, every one of them.
That defense last handful of weeks has been playing really good.
Wore out his welcome, unfortunately.
I mean, he will be a top, if not head coach candidate, a defensive coordinator candidate.
DC again.
I mean, anywhere he goes, with all these new head coaching jobs that will be available, Vic Fangio he can go anywhere he wants to be a defensive coordinator. I mean, I would love him back in Chicago.
If the Bears
But yeah, I gotta go Kansas City. They just have more on the line. They're gonna want to win more. But then again, Broncos maybe want to play spoilers to a division rival, especially at home.
You need a quarterback for that.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the game last week against Cincinnati, Cincinnati had to put up the points to stay in that game and win it. So, yeah, I'm going to go Kansas City. All right, for the Saturday night game, we have the Dallas Cowboys heading to Philly to play the Eagles. Both these teams are in the playoffs no matter what. Cowboys could potentially jump up to the number 2 seed with some potential tiebreaker situations. Right now they're the 4 seed, but
Dallas's defense is finally healthy, so it's tough to go against them.
When you think of the last time these two teams played, Dallas did destroy them at home. But this Philly team is a lot different, I feel like, from when they played last. They've been running the ball excellent. I believe they're only 42 yards away from breaking the all-time record for most rushing yards in a team had in a season.
Really?
Yes. Because that's how they in the first 5 weeks never ran the ball. Literally Philly would cheer loudly when they would run the ball, and they've become this amazing run team, especially because their offensive line, is very good and healthy. Yeah. They have, I would argue, a top 5 offensive line.
Well, and in the beginning, they didn't trust their quarterback at all. I think they trust him more now.
Yes. I mean, he still isn't he's had some issues, but he's still playing very good, and he's much of the reason they're in the playoffs. And
you can't knock them. It's just some guys take longer to progress,
Yeah.
You can't expect, I'm going to use Russell Wilson here. You can't expect a Russell Wilson effect to come in and be pretty much a superstar right away.
That is true. But, I mean,
I'm going to go Dallas. I just think Dallas is trucking until the playoffs and they'll lose.
Like they always do.
Yep.
I'm going to go Eagles. I think this will be a fun game. It's in Philly. I'm going to go Philly. Partially I just want to see the Cowboys lose, and I'm going to be a bandwagon.
I agree with you. I'd like to see them lose. Only, it's usually because they're coaches. I don't like McCarthy, so. But I'm still going to Dallas. I don't think Philly's got it.
That defense is very good, and I just.
And with Marcus Lawrence being healthy and back, they're playing pretty dang good.
I think mostly I want to see that defense against that offense. I mean, we know how good Dak can be. We saw against, the Washington football team 2 weeks ago, but then last week they had a lot of troubles. So, it's really iffy on, if that offense will show, and we'll see if, Philly's defense, is Darius Slay going to make a big play and, change stuff up. We'll see.
Yep.
But next up, we're away from the Saturday. We got a lot of Sunday games to talk about. First one up, we have the Cincinnati Bengals heading to Cleveland to play the Case Keenum-led Browns.
Well, even if Baker was starting, I'd still pick Cincy because Cincy's been on fire the last 2 weeks.
But here's the situation. They are clinched, and they have several players on the COVID list, including Joe Mixon, Trey Hendrickson, and among other, key starters or rotational players. Not to mention, Joe Burrow's a little banged up. Are they going to let him play that entire game, if not any of it? It's still kind of up in the air, considering they've already.
I just think the Browns have completely given up on life. Pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting though.
They're blaming Baker. They're blaming whatever they can when it's coaching.
Especially when you consider Nick Chubb hasn't been getting the ball as much as they should have in the last couple of these games that they could have potentially won.
Because I'm not gonna lie, I think if they can get Baker for a decent discount, we'll say $18 million, $20 million a year, they should keep him. I don't think the market's good enough to go after a Tyler Huntley and take a gamble on him because he played 3 good games. You know what I mean?
There is potential. We talked, I've talked kind of bad about this QB class, but there are some guys that seem to be, in the mix to potentially bring in, 2, maybe, bench or, rest for a year or 2. So maybe draft. There's some guys, too, that are injured, say, like North Carolina's quarterback.
Well, Jesus
Sam
knows
Howell.
Everyone blames Baker.
Well, it's Cleveland. They're going to blame the QB no matter what.
They should blame the defense, considering the amount of talent that's actually on that defensive side of the ball is pretty outstanding, and they a lot of times do not play on.
I mean, they've dealt with a lot of things, including COVID injuries and whatnot. I mean, whenever you have a losing record, there's more than one thing that you need to be putting the blame on. But I mean, I kind of want to go Cleveland just for the fact that, like, there is kind of a COVID issue in Cincinnati, and there are some banged up players, and they might not play a lot. So
I'm going off the Cincinnati's super hot right now, and the Browns are not.
That is fair, but yeah, I'm gonna go Cleveland. Cleveland at home. Fancy really wants to win this game to show, like, hey, keep me around, because he definitely maybe is on the hot seat after these last couple weeks. But yeah, I'm gonna go Cleveland. But next up, if we want to talk about potential bench games, we have the Green Bay Packers heading into Detroit to play the Lions. Now reports,
interesting one.
Green Bay has clinched the first seed and get a bye, and normally when that happens, the quarterback rests. But from every indication I've seen, Aaron Rodgers plans on playing this game.
I have a gut feeling Detroit is going to be in this game. It just seems like
they were kind of in the game until the second half last time they played, all the way in week 2. Or I believe it was... Actually, no, it was... Yeah, week 2. It was week 2.
If they can shut down the Packers' run game, they have a chance. Because they need to be able to make Rodgers make stupid decisions. But if the run game's working, they have no chance.
Well, I mean, have you noticed how...
Green Bay.
Have you noticed how Aaron Rodgers has played pretty much since week 2? He hasn't really made any silly mistakes.
No, but if you look at... From Pro Football Focus or other sites, if you look at... It's because he's somehow... when he gets pressured, he makes a lot of mistakes.
Yeah, well...
He just... He that's when his I think his interception ratio on getting pressured is like 80%, but he throws a lot of balls away, so that helps his cause to the public,
Yeah, I mean, this is asking a lot to do for a Detroit Lions team, but
I think they're committed to Goff now for at least another year.
It potentially seems as so, but especially with kind of the potential defense in this draft that they can get with the number 1 overall
class
pick.
In next year is better anyways.
It has its potential, but you never know.
Who says they don't draft a guy in the 3rd round and then draft another guy next year and then they have Goff? That's what I.
And there's something to keep in mind is there's currently 2 teams right now with 2 top 10 picks in the first round where there's some things that could be moved around if Detroit isn't, happy with... looking at the Green Bay game, I think even if Aaron Rodgers and a couple guys don't start or play, I would still take Jordan Love to win this game.
Well, I'm going to base it off Rodgers playing, so I'm going to take Green Bay.
Yeah.
But I have no confidence in Jordan Love.
I have more confidence... I just have confidence in that team in general over Detroit. But next up, 2 teams I really have no confidence in whatsoever, especially since we know one of these head coaches are going to be fired very, very soon. We have the Chicago Bears heading up to Minnesota to play the Vikings. Another NFC North matchup.
I didn't know which game you were talking about there. I was gonna potentially say Washington or the Giants this game.
Yeah, there's a couple games where I could say that a couple times.
But I don't know what's...
Justin Fields versus Kirk Cousins. It seems like everyone's going to be playing. Both coaches have kind of came out and said that.
Well, given Minnesota's record of leaving every opponent close in most games, and the Bears' defense playing well, I think the Bears win this game.
I mean, I can see it. I mean, there's not really any... I mean, no matter what happens, there's no, draft picks move a little bit, but...
It goes for who's worse... Because it doesn't change anything because Detroit's the worst team in the division, so that the last place...
And even if Chicago wins, Vikings, because of certain tiebreakers, will be considered the second team in the NFC North no matter what. So that doesn't affect scheduling. I mean, the Bears' schedule for next year is pretty much already out.
A little harder then.
Well, it's already... No, the Bears are going to be the 3rd team in the NFC North no matter what.
Oh, yeah.
So their schedule is pretty much already out, other than I think one.
It's game. All pride. It's a pride game.
Yeah, it's a pride game. how's Matt Nagy going to do trying to go out? There's a lot of these players that, they kind of are fighting for contracts.
Nagy, he's got a winning record as a coach.
Yeah. That first year, that was a defense.
I know.
Second year losing season.
But if you base it off of our good coaches, Lovey barely had 500 at the end.
He went 10-6 last year.
No, as overall.
Oh, okay, yeah, fair.
I mean, I want Nagy to go on. It's time for a different approach, but I don't know. It's all going to be a process, and they have to vet a coach that wants to work with Fields, not that just wants to do something else.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what things go, who stays. I mean,
Urban Meyer. Just kidding.
No, but I mean, there's questions on even if the GM Ryan Pace stays. I mean, it sounds like he's going to, from what I've heard.
Sounds like I think he's just moving up.
And that's potential too. I mean,
and they're talking about us getting that analyst as a GM.
The which one? The Louis Riddick?
Yes.
Yeah, he's been kind of. A lot of people have been saying that
he used to be a player. No.
I want to say yes.
Then a running back. Let me look it up. I think he was a running back. Like a superstar, which usually that's how this stuff plays out.
Well, yeah, look at most of the head coaches in the NFL. None of them are. Normally they were the backups learning everything and whatnot, and that's what makes them good coaches because they're,
Oh, yeah, he was. Wait, what?
Are you sure?
He wasn't a running back. His brother was a running back, but he was a safety.
Okay.
Interesting.
Well, yeah, I'm gonna go Chicago too. Just Kirk Cousins likes to stink it up week 17 against the Bears no matter what.
Well,
so
I'm thinking he might try to lose this game to get Zimmer the hell out of Minnesota.
Well, if Zimmer, Kirk Cousins might be gone too with the way things are. He's not been giving them anything to really say, hey, keep me around. We can win a Super Bowl with me. While they've had some really great stars around him.
Yeah, that's the thing is that Minnesota team's getting it's aging in certain Kendricks is not young anymore. Barr's getting older too.
Harrison Smith's getting older. Adam Thielen's up there. He kind of started later on his stardom.
Later, yeah. But
I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens with both of these teams
they're just
next
one of those
year.
teams that Kirk Cousins gets a lot of flack because they built that offensive line to run, not to pass.
But they have. No matter I don't know. It'll be interesting. But yeah, I'm gonna go Chicago too.
Yep.
Next up, another kind of game similar to the one we were just talking about. We got Washington football team versus the New York Giants. Washington football
I wasn't even gonna let you finish because if Mike Glennon's starting again like last week,
that man threw what 3 or 4 passes.
He didn't even have 50 yards passing.
I know. I think for the game it was negative 11 passing yards, for the team.
I think a college team could beat that Giants team with that setup.
Well, all you gotta do is pretty much stop Saquon, which hasn't been too hard of a thing to do. It seems like this year. But yeah, I gotta go Washington too. Just it seems like they at least know how to do things, especially if even if Jake Fromm plays that game.
It doesn't matter who plays. Their offensive line is either given up / abysmal. I can't tell.
Yeah, yeah, especially with some of the players Washington has
I'm
on their
going to use
front.
an example. Quinn's last sack, I didn't find it that impressive. It was just bad offensive line play. His move wasn't like it was a fancy, whoa. It was basic, and...
Yeah, exactly. But... Yeah, I gotta go Washington too. Just they seem just better.
What was the new name? The Washington.
That has not been released yet. They have released
I saw
that.
one of the Red Fins or something.
That's been potential, but nothing will be. They released a video saying that they'll release the name in February, I believe.
They should just do it during the Super Bowl. That'd be smart.
That would actually. I would love a commercial or something that's releasing the name of it. That would
the
be super
NFL would
cool.
pay for it, but yeah.
Yeah. But Next up,
moving on.
we have a game with a little bit of playoff consideration. We have the Indianapolis Colts heading to Jacksonville to play the Jaguars. Colts win, they're in, and they'll take the last available spot in the AFC.
Colts win.
Colts have had troubles winning in Jacksonville over the last couple of years. But
I think Jacksonville's got a bright future, depending almost any coach. But I think they're pretty much shut down for the year. Their morale's been gone. So, and the Colts still got that fire because they can make the playoffs. So,
I agree, and when you look at how they played, I mean, it was a close game last time they played, but that was before a lot of things happened. So, I gotta go Colts too. They're gonna try to get business done. Seal their ticket into the playoffs after kind of a disappointing loss to the Raiders last week. But yeah, I gotta go Colts. I mean, it's hard to pick a playoff contention. A team some people think could potentially go to the Super Bowl even, to lose to a team that has yet to show anything. But hey, if the Colts do win, that changes a lot of potential playoff things, including this next game where both of these teams have a chance if the Colts lose. We have the Pittsburgh Steelers heading into Baltimore to play the Ravens. Now, if the Colts were to lose, whoever would win this game has a chance to go to the playoffs.
I have to go with Pittsburgh just because it's Big Ben's last ride.
Plus, Lamar still isn't, people still don't know if he's going to play, and with the kind of the health of the entire team, it's hard to really say the Ravens.
Yeah, and the Ravens will be a new team next year because all the injuries they've had to and a bunch of stopgaps on defense.
Yeah. Plus, if you look at the way T.J. Watt even played last week, Monday night against the Browns, like, he is hungry. He is wanting to show people, hey, I'm the best player in defense.
Because he was like this old man Robert Quinn almost caught me.
Yeah, and he ended up having, 4 sacks? And now is, half a sack away from tying the record? I mean, it's hard not to say Steelers, especially, Big Ben's last potential game, bearing a Colts loss. But it's crazy to think that. I mean, Big Ben. I mean, it's Big Ben.
Yep.
Even with all the kind of negatives, he's still one of the better quarterbacks we've seen over the last decade.
Yeah, I mean, even me, I've talked a lot of crap about him, but now that it's coming to that end, it's like...
it's kind of like with Peyton Manning retired. He ended up leading the league in interceptions the year he retired, but, it's Peyton Manning. You got to talk good about the sheriff. Yeah. But, Pittsburgh, Baltimore's too banged up to even think about them. But next up, we have a game, a little bit of playoff contentions. Tennessee Titans versus Houston Texans. Houston did beat them the last time they played, but that was a very banged up Titans team, and this Titans team is really trying to fight to get this playoff bye because a certain player who is still 6th in the rushing yards, who hasn't played since Halloween, can possibly be back for the playoffs. That alone is crazy.
That's a game changer right there.
If Derrick Henry can come back and play well in the playoffs, especially after getting a bye to rest up even more, it'll be hard to pick any other team because when that team was, healthy and everythty.
Well, he's still 6th in rushing. He hasn't played in forever.
Exactly. He would probably be the MVP of this season if he were to. He was on a pretty great pace. But that's, if he kept the pace, if he didn't get injured. And there's a lot of, variables. But, I mean, this Tennessee Titans team has played really good the last couple of weeks since A.J. Brown has been back. And, defense is looking good. It's taking care of business. Offense, Ryan Tannehill's look good.
Though, because Julio's a shell of what he used to be.
Yeah, but
He just I don't so it happens to receivers and running backs a lot where they just magically just goes away.
who knows? Maybe something can happen in the playoffs to bring a little bit of.
Maybe.
It's not a lot of time left, but there is a lot of football still left to be played in these next pretty much.
That's true.
2 months or a month and a half. But yeah, I gotta go Titans too. Even though, I mean, then again, Tennessee's kind of learned to play without Derrick Henry since that game. This was the first game they played, I think, without Derrick Henry, where they made Ryan Tannehill throw like 30-plus passes in the middle of a rainstorm. I think it'll be a lot better for them. So yeah, I gotta go Tennessee. But next up, we got the Saints Falcons in Atlanta. Saints win. They could be in, bearing a 49ers loss. We'll talk about the 49ers a little bit later. But do you think the Falcons can take care of business and ruin the Saints'
I'd like
dreams?
to say yes, but they won't.
I think they can.
And I'd love to see the Saints not make the playoffs, but I don't know.
I think the Falcons can win this game.
I don't, because I don't understand. Their coaching makes no sense. Cordell Patterson was having a hot year, and now all of a sudden he barely gets any touches.
That maybe they were saving him for this game because they know they'll need him against this top defense.
No.
Yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting. I think this would be a very low. I think this could potentially be.
It's all on the Saints defense. That's what it's on.
Well, it's all on if the Saints offense can do anything.
Well, I'm not even, because I don't think they can. I'm saying, but if their defense can play like they've been playing, they'll win. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, which they've been playing very good. It's just unfortunate that offense has gone through so much. Because, I mean, early on with Jameis Winston, they could have potentially been, one of these top teams.
Yep.
Or even, I mean, yeah.
And now they're playing with quarterbacks that have less throw power than Alvin Kamara.
Yeah, but I'm going Falcons. You're going Saints.
Yep.
It's interesting to think. I mean, Saints, one of those teams you expect to go to the playoffs every year, and now Drew Brees is gone. Their, injuries and COVID have really kind of hurt this team. They went through a lot of injuries. I mean, during the Monday night game, they talked about how, they were on potentially their like 7th left, offensive tackle. Just they've been hit with such a bad injury bug.
Yeah. Well, it's just the whole NFL has with situations.
It's just been one of those kind of years. But next up we have Jets, the New York Football Jets, going actually into New York to play the Buffalo.
I'm gonna say Buffalo.
Yeah, I mean Buffalo's. I mean they have no reason not to be playing hard in this game. They are fighting.
It's one of those games where Buffalo's got a lot to fight for. Jets have nothing.
Exactly. I mean, Buffalo, if the Patriots lose, which there is a small chance there is a chance they could lose. Buffalo could take the division and clinch a.
Yeah. Well, okay. What happens though is there any chance of Miami making it if they win?
No, they're out of contention.
Okay.
Which, yes, that does put less effort into it, but you're still playing for pride.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that game in a little bit, but I got to go Buffalo too. I mean, Jets are the Jets. Jets will Jets. I mean, they did play well against the Buccaneers, but can they do that 2 weeks in a row? Against the Jets team that the last couple weeks have looked really hot and gained some momentum. So,
something you'll never say again.
Yeah, well.
I'm just kidding.
We'll see you next year. But, yeah, I got to go Bills too. So we'll see. But this next game, which might not be the game of the week because of how the Sunday Night Football game definitely is, this is definitely up there for one of the best games of the week. We have the San Francisco 49ers heading to LA to play the Rams. A game with a lot of playoff contentions because the 49ers win, they're in. The Rams win, they get the second
Who's
seed.
starting a quarterback, though?
That's a good question. From what I would assume, Trey Lance. But I mean,
as much as I don't like Jimmy, Jimmy gives them a better chance to win.
I mean, I don't know. With the way that team is set up, like, you could almost put almost anyone in there just because of how good of a run game they are. And with the way they played against the Rams last time, they were able to run all over them.
Yeah.
But I think this game will be a lot closer than it was last time.
I'm going to go with the Rams. I think the Rams are...
Matt Stafford has been struggling a little bit lately, but a good, tough
barring an OBJ, like Odell Beckham Antonio Brown-like incident, they'll be fine.
I'm going to go 49ers.
He did punch a guy last week.
In a place you shouldn't punch anyone.
Well, that was him. Wait, that was just him tapping him so he was down.
That was not a tap. You know that was not a tap. And if you don't know what we're talking about, good for you. Because you don't want to watch
Go to YouTube. Just type in Odell Beckham. I'm sure it's one of the top
Odell
5
Beckham
videos.
Punch versus Ravens.
I don't even think you need to go that far.
Probably not, but it was against the Ravens. Look for a very purple team. But you don't. Viewer discretion is advised for this. But I kind of want to go 49ers here. I mean, yeah, I don't think it'll be a blowout game like it kind of was last time. The Rams are kind of in a struggle patch around that time. But this 49ers team is just, I really like it, and they could be potentially very scary if they get into the playoffs. You want to have a good running game in the playoffs. I mean, when it's cold and nasty out in most of these games. But, it's going to come down to how well either Jimmy G or Trey Lance plays, and I don't know. They have the potential, but I'm going to go 49ers. I think it'll be a good game, though.
It should be a good game.
It should be a really good game. Potentially high scoring, even with how good both those defenses are. But, I don't know. We'll see. Next up, we have another NFC East showdown that we talked about a little bit prior. Was Patriots heading into Miami to play the Dolphins. Patriots
AFC.
Win. I say NFC, I meant AFC. My bad. But, Patriots win. They clinch the division. Dolphins, they can't go to the playoffs. But,
go New England. Just their defense looked pretty impressive last week, so...
Yeah, I gotta go Patriots too. It's definitely a different team versus when they played them week 1. Which is kind of interesting to think how they played them week 1 and then week 18, the first and last game of the season. I'm going to go Patriots too. This Patriots team just is a lot. Mac Jones has, put up a very impressive rookie year. It's a shame that Jamar Chase just seems like with that over 200-yard performance against the Chiefs is going to beat him out for Offensive Rookie of the Year. But hey, sometimes, medals don't matter. It's about getting rings. So we'll see if this Patriots team can do some damage in the playoffs.
Correct.
But I'm gonna go Patriots. What team has beat Bill Belichick twice in a season? I don't know the numbers, but I don't think many have. But next up, we have the Seattle Seahawks playing against the Arizona Cardinals. Arizona finally clinched, a playoff spot. Their, a win and a Rams loss gives them the division. But
I'm going to go Arizona.
Seattle just
put a fork in them.
Yeah, they did play very good last week, but that was against a Jags team that has known anything really. So, this Cardinals team obviously is very good. It showed itself against the Dallas Cowboys. And I think, it's going to be a fun divisional game. Russell Wilson.
It could be close, but
Russell Wilson does love to play good in Arizona. He has some of his best plays in Arizona, but, yeah, I got to go Cardinals too. Next up, we have a game that means a little bit. Bucks, still, trying to be in the mix for, top, better seeding than some other guys. They can't get the first seed, of course, but they are division clinched.
Carolina's pretty bad as of late. I thought they were going to be a different team, and then he just completely imploded.
The last couple years, the Carolina Panthers start hot and then melt very, very quickly.
Oh, they melted terribly this year. It was probably one of the worst implosions
I think a couple years ago when McCaffrey's looking like the MVP and then Cam Newton got hurt was a little worse, but I don't know. This is a tough year for the Panthers, especially with how good that defense did look in the beginning. I mean, Panthers were blown out by the Buccaneers a couple weeks ago, but this Buccaneers team has changed a little bit since then. I mean, the top leading receiver of the Buccaneers seems like he won't be there, a.k.a. Antonio Brown, and not for the season, just for that game against them. But, yeah, I mean, this could potentially be a game where the Buccaneers, if they can get to a good start, just starts to bench players a little bit. Tom Brady might not play a lot this game, but
he'll start it though. He always does.
Yeah, especially when
Tampa.
This game is a little bit later, so there could be some seeding stuff figured out by then. So they're watching the games, they're figuring out, hey, we're gonna get this seed, we're good, we can bench players, or hey, we need to win this game and we can get a better seeding spot. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, Buccaneers no matter what. Even with Blaine Gabbert at quarterback. But last but not least, we have the potential, I think, game of the week. Everyone else thinks so. Whoever wins this game is in no matter what. A potential Colts loss, and this game ties. Both of these teams could be in, but that's very, 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 very rare. We have the LA Chargers heading into Vegas to play the Raiders. This is a very fun game, I think. It could be.
I haven't picked the Raiders much this year, but I'm gonna. I don't know. My gut's just.
This is an interesting
I was
game.
gonna say
We think
Oakland goes Vegas.
Hey, Viva Las Vegas now, not Oakland. But I mean, the Chargers over the last couple weeks have been kind of a hard team to go with, just for the simple fact that, I mean, they seem to be off and on a little bit, kind of like what I said about the Bengals last week, but then that ended up, being a lie.
Yeah, I picked Oakland because I just think just let Carr make the playoffs. Come on.
Well, Oakland doesn't have a team, so I'm assuming you mean Vegas.
Yeah, sorry, Vegas. Yeah, just let Carr make the playoffs. That's all he wants.
Yeah, this is a tough game. I mean, to think about how hard of a season it's been for the Raiders when you consider the head coaching situation, Ruggs situation. They've been without Darren Waller for pretty much the entire season.
And a couple of their defensive backs,
Not
similar
to
to Ruggs.
That is very true.
DUIs and other alcohol-related incidents.
Yeah, it's just been a very tough year. So to see the Raiders get in would be amazing.
Yeah,
but I'm gonna go Chargers. I don't know. I just a gut feeling. I don't know if I really want to do it, but I think Herbert. When he wants to can ball. I think it'll be a fun game. I mean, they got a couple players back from that tough loss against Houston that were on the COVID list. I think it'll be a good game, and I'm gonna go LA Chargers, and they're gonna go to the playoffs and try to, go make. Hey, this could potentially, if the Chargers were to go to the playoffs, we could be running in a situation where the Rams and Chargers go to the Super Bowl, and the team or the stadium it's being played in is LA. That would be really cool. We saw it last year where Tampa Bay hosted the Super Bowl and the Bucs won it, but this is another step. This is a whole nother level. Do I think that'll happen? No, probably not. Chargers. But we'll see. Chargers can get hot really quick. I mean, they could have beat the Chiefs twice this season, so we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be an interesting week.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, there's maybe not as many playoff contentions as there was week prior, but there's definitely still a little bit of things that can change. Some teams could go into this week thinking they're making the playoffs, and they are going home. So, these are a lot of players, like I said earlier, a lot of coaches' last games for these teams, a lot of players' last games for these teams, or even their careers. So, we'll see. I mean, everyone's going to be playing. No one's going to try to lose unless they have, they're kind of, gambling scumbags and have money on different things, but that's illegal, so we don't like to think about that. Everyone's going to be playing for pride. Everyone's going to be playing for their next contract. Everyone's going to be playing for something. So this should be fun games no matter what. So, hey, we'll see. We'll see how good this the first ever NFL Week 18 regular season is. I'm excited for it. I'm ready for it. But that's all we got for that. Let's move on to our little Add a Legend that we like to do here. And then for anyone who doesn't know, that's when we look at NFL teams past and add a player from those teams past to make this team a potential Super Bowl consideration, or, as we've seen from many of these other teams, just to try to get a win or two. And this week, we have a team that is looking like a Super Bowl, a team that could win the Super Bowl no matter what. We have the Kansas City Chiefs. Brett, who would you like to add to make this amazing team even better?
Well, they have their signal caller on the offensive side. They need a signal caller on the defensive side, which you could say Honey Badger is, but I'm more confident when you have a linebacker like Mr. Derek Johnson in the middle. And he doesn't get the credit that he should because he played in his time with so many good coverage linebackers that he just was overshadowed a lot.
Not to mention, for a good chunk of his career, Kansas City wasn't really that good. It's kind of more towards the end that they...
I mean, he just was, if you look at his stats, he's up there, but he just was
Definitely.
overshadowed by other names.
That is very true. He was one of the better linebackers of his era, but, that was also an era where there were many great linebackers.
Yep.
I mean, that is a good pick. That defense, has been playing a lot better these last couple weeks, but...
I mean, I wanted to pick Tony Gonzalez just to have him and Kelsey, but that's not realistic.
That's maybe too many weapons. I mean, that would be crazy. I mean, those are two of maybe arguably the best tight ends to ever play. I mean, obviously, there's guys like Gronk, or, I mean, if you want to even take it
I'm
back
just saying it would be a very interesting offense, but
don't
have it's only one football, so...
That is true, and when you want to, if you look at kind of how that Super Bowl last year against Tampa Bay went for the Chiefs, it looked like they could need some help on that defense. Or what they could do also is offensive line, and that's kind of the direction I went. I know they did add a lot this offseason, but I think they could even go a little bit farther to help this team. And when the Chiefs have what a lot of people argue one of the greatest offensive, linemen, not only the Chiefs have had, but over the last decade. He was part of a 2010 or the 2000s All-Decade team, and 12-time Pro Bowler. But I got to go with the offensive guard Will Shields, who was really good. He helped, I believe, Priest Holmes with his top-notch year he had many moons ago, if I'm correct. But
I don't remember, but yeah, I mean, they need any protection from Holmes gives him
exactly
time, which helps.
I mean, you signed this man for the contract you did. You want to keep him as safe as you can. So adding a Hall of Fame guard, exactly. Look at the Super Bowl last year. Yes, that offensive line had some injury problems, but
that offensive line is why he was running for his life.
Exactly. I forget the stats, but that man ran around more in the back of the line of scrimmage than I think they had in total offense or something like that. It was crazy. But,
shows how important the offensive line is sometimes.
Exactly. I mean, it's hard to see. I mean, look at the last several Super Bowl winners. I mean, how many of them didn't have at least a top 10 offensive line, or at least 15? I can't think of a team that didn't. So, I mean, offensive line is very important. I mean, you could argue the Chiefs 2 years ago, but even, they were pretty healthy. And, yes, Nick Bosa did have, I think, a record for most pressures in a Super Bowl, but that's Nick Bosa. Nick Bosa's really good.
Yep.
But that's all. I mean,
we could talk about stuff for all day, but that's all we got for this week.
Yes. Next week will be fun. We'll have playoffs. We'll have coach firings. But, hey, that's all we got for you this week. Everyone have a fun, safe Week 18. Watch some other sports. We'll be hopefully talking about some basketball and others here soon. But, hey, go follow us on our socials. Those will be linked below. Have a good weekend, everybody.
Take it easy.